ladies and gentlemen, a new video, probably a long one, I'm not sure, you can see it down below. Probably a long one because we are going to go through all the new cards for the third set of Mind Worlds, the Dynamic Skill Theory. And they're basically all done. So we now have their names. We've been posting them on different places in the last few weeks so that people could suggest some names. And a lot of the new names come from people suggesting them. And I guess we are just gonna go through them one by one. I'm gonna try to make it somewhat fast. But the idea is that by showing the new cards, I can explain a bit of the process behind how we create them and a few of the new elements that come up, that will come up with this third set. So without further ado, I guess we can just jump into it. The first card of this set is Barkshy, which is a fast fluff. The artwork drawn by Nick Jay-Z, and it has an effect that already existed in previous sets for this color, which is that if there are 10 or more turns, it's gonna do something, otherwise it's gonna do something else. So this card, if there are 10 or more turns, it's gonna project one card, otherwise it's gonna add one turn, and then after that it's gonna gain some influence. So I kind of want to touch on adding turns. So it's something that's here for the yellow color, for the joy emotion, the cards from the joy archetype. They have the ability to add some turns to the game, and they have more powerful effects at the beginning of the game. And so it's something that we are going to slowly dial down with the future sets. We are going to try for this color to have less and less ways to add turn, because we already have quite a few in the first few sets. And as you might know, whenever you get a deck of this game, it's randomized. And so you have cards from different sets. And so on average now, you have probably a quarter of the deck that is able to add turn when you have a randomized deck that has this color. And I think we want to dial it down to somewhere along the lines of maybe 1 or 2 cards in the deck add turn. So we're gonna dial it down in the future. But for the moment, we have this card. Another element that I'd like to add is that now, since Nick Jay-Z drew a lot more artworks for this set, we are gonna have a few more funky fluffs, because in the past the fluffs had kind of a similar design. But now we have a lot of different ways to portray them. So I'm excited to show you that. Second card is the Swirl, which is a normal speed sun. And it has one of the new keywords, one of the new elements for this set. So this set is based on the Dynamic Skill Theory, and for each color, we were inspired by this theory, and for each color, we created 2 new mechanics that they have access to. And since this set also introduced dual emotions, basically we made it so every color that's neighboring on the wheel shares a new ability, a new mechanic. So this one, it's if you have more cards in hand, you do something, otherwise you do something else. And this mechanic is present in the yellow cards, so in the joy cards, but also in the anticipation cards, in the orange cards. So this one states that if you have more cards in hand, you're going to be able to pre-play 1 or less chill thought, otherwise you're going to add some turns. Let's jump to the third card, which is called Bubble Maker. And this one also has this ability. So if you have more cards, you're going to project 1 card, otherwise you're going to draw a card. Simple. I'm not gonna stay too long on any particular card. I quite like the doodle on this one. I feel like as sets go on, I managed to, because this is one of the ones that I doodled, and I feel like I managed to develop more of a distinct style. And I'm quite happy with a lot of these doodles for this set. The fourth card is Beyond. So this is another new mechanic, which is I'm just gonna read it. Static. If you project, gain 1 influence per joy in the mind. So this new mechanic makes it so that whenever you use a specific keyword, you get a reward or something happens. So here, whenever another card uses the keyword project, this card is gonna make you gain 1 influence per joy in the mind. So we also try, when we create new mechanics, we try to keep them simple as much as we can. So we'll see if it ends up being the case, or if there are some that are a bit too complicated. We try for it not to happen, but while playtesting, we might discover that some players have a harder time with some new mechanics to consciously understand them, to unconsciously understand them. So we are gonna see. The 5th card is the Shine. So simple effect, you're gonna suggest 1 chill card, meaning that basically you're gonna show your opponent a card, and your opponent is gonna tell you whether they would answer it or not if you play it now. So it allows you to be a bit more safe. It's a keyword that existed since the 4-size model. So here it is on a Fast Sun, drawn by Nick Jay-Z. And basically, when we create new sets, we have new keywords and mechanics. Roughly 60% of the set is based on the new mechanics and new ideas that we bring in. And the rest is kind of combinations of effects that already existed and that we want to reintegrate into the game in other ways. Because I didn't think we had a card that was fast and that allowed you to suggest something. So now it's the case. We have a chill card that allows you to do that. The 6th card is the Canopy, which is a plant drawn by Nick Jay-Z once again. Its effect is quite interesting, because usually strong cards, strong thoughts, they give you some influence, almost always, but this one doesn't. This one, if there's 10 or more turns, is gonna allow you to draw 2 cards, which is a huge effect in this game. And otherwise you're gonna be able to recall 1 or less other strong thoughts, meaning that you're gonna be able to replay it for free in the mind and redo its effect and its gains. So I would feel like it's quite a strong card, but it's really hard to know for the moment, because most of these cards on their own, they are more or less strong, but it's really the combination of them that is able to tell you whether or not they will have a huge impact on the game. 7, we have the Hungry Pit, which has one of the new mechanics, which says that if you project, you're gonna draw 1 card. So meaning that every time another card uses the keyword project, here this card, the Hungry Pit, is gonna make you draw a card every time this happens. So it also allows you to, if you create pre-con decks, meaning that if you build decks by yourself using our deck builder, you can now create decks that are specialized in projection, for example, here, where you are able to create a lot of, to add a lot of some kind of tool cards inside of your deck that work around specific keywords. Next card, Deconstruction, drawn by Nick Jay-Z. So this has one of the new mechanics, one of the new keywords, which will appear in every color. So this new keyword is merge. And so basically, the idea behind it is that as this card enters the mind, you're gonna merge any number of sun in the mind. So suns are the chill cards for this color, so the lower power cards for this color. And so every color will have access to this ability, to this keyword, to this merge keyword, and they will be able to merge some of their chill cards. And so what that means is that here with this card, merge 0 or more suns, it means that in the mind, you're going to look at the mind, and maybe you have 3 suns in the mind. And you can put any number of them underneath this card. So that's the basic of this effect. So you put them under this card. It's as if these suns aren't in the mind anymore. It's as if they left, but they're basically used as some kind of storage. So that's the first part of the effect. And the second part is, I'm gonna read this one. Instant, forget one merge stun to cancel an opponent gain. So usually this effect goes along these lines. First, you merge some of the cards that are in the mine, you put them underneath this card, and then you can use them, so you can forget them, to do an effect. So here, let's say it enters, you're gonna merge maybe 2 suns, so you're gonna put 2 of your suns under this card, and whenever you want, you will be able to forget one of them in order to cancel an opponent gain. So instant is also a new kind of keyword that we added to the game, which allows you to do this effect whenever you wish, in response of anything that happens. So that's exciting. That's something that didn't exist yet in the game. Let's see the next one. The next one is Under the Sun, again drawn by Nick Jay-Z, which also has a merge ability, so you're going to be able to merge 0 or more sun. And this time it has a static effect. If an opponent gain, you will project 1 merge sun. So meaning that maybe this time you play this one, you're going to merge 2 or 3 suns underneath. And then whenever the opponent is going to gain influence, you're going to project one of your merge sun, meaning that they're gonna have it enter their side of the mine, and they're gonna have to pay for it. So they're gonna lose some card, or they're gonna lose some time counter. And I feel like it's a fairly strong effect, because when you have these intense cards that enter the mine, usually you don't necessarily need your more weak cards that are in the mine. And so this effect, the merging effect, allows you to kind of remove them from the mine and use them for specific, for useful effects. So it's also a double-edged sword, because once you merge some cards, they leave the mine, meaning that you don't have as many of your color in the mine anymore. So it's a bit of a dangerous effect. It was quite hard to create these, to keep them balanced, because we gotta be careful not to make them too weak, because it's quite of a strong cost to have to remove some stuff from the mind, some stuff from your color from the mind, because then it really stops you from being able to play more strong or intense thoughts. And finally, the last card from the Joy archetype is a Sea of Joy. And so this one has the effect that if you have more cards in hand, you're going to project your entire hand, meaning that all the cards you have in hand, they're going to enter on your opponent's side of the mind, and they're going to have to pay for it. So all the effects and gains of these cards are going to happen for your opponent, but then they're basically probably going to lose most of their hand to be able to pay for it. So it adds a lot of your color in the mind. And we like to add really big effects to these intense cards, so that when you're finally able to play them, they really have a huge impact on the game. So if you have more cards, you will project your hand. Otherwise, you will draw 3 cards. So fairly strong effect. I'm guessing, because we cannot playtest every single situation when we create a new set, but the idea is that as we create these cards, we try to avoid them being completely insane, which is a good way to go about it. But as long as they have ways to be countered, as long as they have ways that people can go around them, it's unusual for us to need to change an effect or to need to rebalance a card. We had to do that in the first set with 2 cards, I think, because it was the first time that we created this kind of effect, and there was a lot going on. So we ended up having to modify 2 of them. But besides that, when we created the second set and now when we created this third set, since we go through the cards again and again and again, slightly modifying the effect, checking for typos, adding the names, adding the artworks, modifying their speed, etc. Since I probably went through every card probably 10-20 times, as I go through them, you really have this sense of some effects that might be a bit dangerous. And so as we go through them, we slightly modify them little by little. And so even with very little playtesting, just by seeing the cards again and again and again and picturing all the different situations, we managed to keep them fairly balanced and to slowly modify them as we go through the creation process. So that's the last card for the joy card, for this emotion. And now I'm wondering whether I should just cut this video into the different parts for the different emotions. So let me think about that. Because if I do that, I kind of need to redo a tiny introduction. Maybe I'm gonna do that. I'm not sure. I guess I can do kind of half an introduction. So either it's gonna be a super long video, but you're gonna have tiny break times. And I could cut it in different pieces and use just these tiny half introductions. Kind of talking to myself now.